Welcome to the First Five, where growth stage companies funded by Y Combinator look back on their first five hires. My name is Anu Hariharan. I'm a managing director at Y Combinator and work with our growth stage companies. I'm here with Tomer London, the co founder and CPO of Gusto, which provides growing businesses with everything to take care of their teams. Gusto was part of Y Combinator's Winter 2012 cohort. Welcome, Tomer.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Today, Gusto has more than 2,000 employees. Tomer, can you talk to us about the first Gusty? Who was it and how did you find them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first Gusty outside of Josh, Eddie, and myself, the founding team is his name is Davey, and he's been just a phenomenal part of our journey for many years. And Davey is a designer. So what we basically where we started, one of the things that we knew that's really critical for the success of our business is to build a great user experience. But it was really important for us that it would be easy to use, and user experience was one of the most important key differentiators in the way we saw this industry is evolving. One of the unique things about Davey is how it's basically this full stack mentality, this ability of knowing, hey, I'm not just going to be a part of this little box, and I'm just going to do the things that designers do, and what designers, whatever profession it is, you kind of have the box that usually people expect you to sit in. But Davey was not thinking like that. And generally, when we think about all of our first hires, and for the first, at least I would say 50 to 100 people, we really celebrated and put a lot of emphasis of folks who can stretch across multiple disciplines, even if they don't know that don't have experience in that, they'll be able to kind of jump in and learn that on the go.
Okay, so that was your designer was the first hire. He was also a
Yes.
great cultural fit, came through your network, and you really emphasized user experience, and that's how you knew
Right.
you wanted to go out and hire a designer. Who was the
Right.
second?
Right. So our second hire is his name is Steven, and he's a software engineer. We really put a lot of emphasis on not just ability to code and build good software and being a smart kind of problem solver, but also someone who thinks a lot about the way of building software, like the how and the methodology of software development in general. So he was really skilled at taking what he liked across different types of teams and helping us build a methodology of how to build great software. So, for example, one of the first things that we're really early into is pair programming. Still today, 11 years later, we
Yeah.
heavily rely on pair programming because it's a really great way of getting more and more people to understand the code base. And again, as I mentioned, code like payroll is pretty complex. So I think pair programming is a way that really helped us. Is a methodology that really helped us onboard and engineer successfully over the years. So that's just kind of one example of the type of practices, best practices that he brought to the table.
That's great. That's actually a really profound one. I have not heard that often in many startups, especially at scale. Now, for Steven in particular, how did he get convinced to join Gusto?
Yeah, so we got Steven through a job post on Hacker News, and he famously said he fat thumbed it. He was trying to read something else on Hacker News, and then he got to read about our company, and that's really what got us the privilege of having that first meeting.
You're not the first founder, and I'm sure you're not going to be the last founder to use Hacker News to hire some of your first five engineers.
Yes,
It's amazing to me how well Hacker News works, and it shows there was mutual interest, right? You wrote about your problem, and he expressed an interest. And who was your
exactly.
third hire?
Right. So the third hire, we knew one of the things when you think about the skill set of the team, one of the things that we had missing and is actually deep experience of decades in taxes and payroll. So all of us again were software engineers and electrical engineers and product people, and we were users of payroll and HR software from ourselves or from watching our parents. We knew that we didn't have that heavy tax experience. So we really quickly knew that this is something that was really important for us to bring in someone with that skill set, with that amount of understanding of the industry, for both to build our compliance function, but also build be able to advise us on product decisions and on customer care and operations. And we kind of really focused, by the way, on the same idea: the growth mindset, challenging yourself. He took like his truck from Minnesota, packed all of his stuff, and literally moved to California for this job, which was amazing. Um, his name is Steven too, by the way. So he used to wear suits every day to work. And he said in an interview that one of the things he's most excited about is to work in a payroll company, a company that sells like a payroll product that doesn't make you wear a suit every day to work. So he came in his first day. We actually surprised him by all of us wearing suits. So that's kind of early days. It's full stack. So he was doing. Today we have like literally like hundreds of people doing this type of work, but it's really compliance and operations and customer care all together in one person. And that was the beginning.
But how did you hire this person? Because I think it's easier to convince like the Steven who was the software engineer or
Right,
the designer
right,
because they probably are in the valley and they want to work at a
right,
startup. This is a person
right,
from Minnesota who worked in payroll, and
right,
then you're just five people at the time in total. Like
right.
how did you even find this person, and how did you especially convince him to join Gusto when you got
Yeah,
convinced?
yeah, yeah. That's definitely one of the hardest hires, actually, exactly because of this. I would say I would add one more thing, which is how do you evaluate this person's skill set?
Yeah.
Because we're not from that, again,
Yeah.
kind of that industry. Now we just, I spent in the first 5 years of the company, I probably spent, not exaggerating, between 5 and 10 hours a week on LinkedIn, reaching out to
Mm.
people. Like that was basically my off day when my brain was kind of like fried already from a whole day of coding and work. It was me going to LinkedIn and just like connecting with a lot of people and seeing if there's an opportunity, if they're interested in talking with us about a job at Gusto. So just a lot of numbers, just a lot of
Mhm.
time and patience and numbers, and until um, one of the interesting things also when you do that, again, not scalable, but in the early days you don't have to do everything that's scaled.
Yeah.
Not everything has to scale. A lot of these people that I reached out in the first year, second year, third year actually ended up coming back years later
Mhm.
for a job at Gusto and were part of our journey. So these things again like have a way in the end of having returns if you have long
Yeah.
enough breath time and um, all that.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you bring back your long-term focus, which is truly, I think, Gusto's superpower, which is if not today, it'll be in the future, but you always lay the legwork for what it takes to, scale the team. So that was your third hire. Who's the fourth?
So we actually hired more engineers around that time. So it was similarly Hacker News posts, and again, really putting the emphasis on these two things. One is the skill set, so to be able to expand what we do, our ability to. So we got folks, for example, with front end experience. Back then we had a little bit missing of that, but then on the other side, really focusing on the mindset, this growth mindset, this ability to kind of keep learning and growing. Um, and as people joined, like obviously we really understood that people are the most important part of any business, and that's one of our
Yeah.
missions in the company is to help other companies build great places to work. So for us, making that a priority was kind of an obvious thing. And once we did find someone who was great, we went all in order to get them to accept and to join us. So, for example, we still, by the way, do it today. So every person who gets an offer on Gusto, the offer itself has you kind of hear you meet the entire panel on a phone call. All of us talk to kind of celebrate the person and share why we love working with them and why we would love to work with them. We still do it to the very first, just today as well. But back then it was the entire company. So you were 10
Mm.
people, whatever. So the entire company goes on the call, and everyone goes around and celebrates the person. So really spending a lot of energy and focus on how do we build a great place to work where people feel like they're appreciated and they're part of a team that really loves them. That kind of helps sets the tone then, because there's very first call like 30, 40 employees end up really setting the culture for the entire rest of the company later,
Mhm.
because many of them become very influential, whether as managers or not as managers, become really influential in the company.
What I really like about what you said is how you wanted Gusto to be a great place to work and influence the culture, but that's really what you're building for your customers.
Yeah.
Because you also mentioned that is your mission to make it great for your customers to feel like it's a great place to work. I think the one other point I'd love for you to highlight for the audience, which I think is really unique about Gusto, is you and I have joked about this, that a lot of our kids think Gusto is a socks company. So maybe you can touch on how did you keep that culture of no shoe
Yeah.
policy?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So when the company started, we started it in our house, and in our house, we actually, just growing up, I always took my shoes off. Josh and Eddie also took their shoes off in the house. So we just, naturally asked the first few folks who joined the company, the first few Gusties, to take their shoes off in the beginning of kind of in the enter to the office, and we ended up being very early days like just a shoes off company. As a result of this, and then obviously in the beginning it was very easy because we literally worked in a house. Then we moved to the first office, and I actually distinctly remember this moment of people coming in the first day to the office. We were around, I want to say 15 people or something, like 20 people, something like that, coming in and like kind of looking around, like, are we going to wear shoes in this place or not? And I think, again, Josh, my co founder CEO, made a call in that moment, looked around like, no, 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 we're going to keep the shoes off thing because we want to feel like this is our home. And in the moment decision ended up today, 10 years later, still being a really big part of our culture. And yes, we make a lot of, we give people slipper stipends for them to buy before the first day so they can walk around with slippers. You don't have to walk around with your socks. We do have tons of branded socks, like for every big event, every new, product milestone or a big milestone for the company, we have like a sock collection. So, I knew as you mentioned, like some of our kids think that really, some of the kids of people in Gusto feel like Gusto is a sock company now.
It's true. It's very colorful socks too, really good ones. But thank you so much, Tomer, for taking the time to share your insights on the first 5 hires, and how you went about doing that.
Thank you. Thanks, Anu.
Thank you for your time, Tomer. If you want to work for Gusto, visit gusto.com/careers. If you're looking to be one of the first employees at a startup like Gusto, check out Y Combinator's job board at workatastartup.com.